Okay, so let's take this beautiful portrait of Dixie and I'm going to make it into a black and white, and then I'm going to refine the tones so it's got a lot of punch, and then we'll do a little dodge and burn. I'm going to show you how to use the actions that I have in my action set here, and then I will explain how each thing is done as well. So let's start. First thing I want to do is make it a black and white, and I have an action called F4 black and white. I just hit F4 and there it is, beautiful black and white. And the system I use, or the method I use to make this black and white, does a beautiful job on portraits. Now it's a very high key portrait, and which means it's mostly light, but I want her eyes to really pop. So I am going to add curves. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom of the layer panel, and I'm going to go to a curves adjustment layer. Now you can see by this, my white point and black point is great, and most of it's lighter tones in this area, but I want the dark tones to be darker, like her eyes. Now I don't want the whole thing darker, so on the upper end, I'm going to take this upper end of the lighter tones and bring them back to where they were originally. So basically I'm increasing the steepness of the curve, but look at the difference between the before and the after. My highlights are still nice and bright, maybe just a teeny bit brighter, and my shadows are darker. So that looks amazing. But now I'm looking at this, I love her eyes, but all of a sudden this shadowy part back here on the back of her shoulder, it just draws my eye to that corner. But I really don't want to crop it off. I want it to be a square, and I don't want the neckline cut off. And there's not really a way to crop this any tighter without changing the composition. So what I'm going to do is use dodge and burn to refine it. So my next action for dodge and burn is Shift F10 right here. So I just press those keys, and it's telling me just start painting to burn, and then to switch over to dodge, press X. Okay, so I hit stop and I do that. So I'm just gonna paint and burn just a little bit. Let's burn down her sweater a little bit. But what I want is for this area to get lighter. So I'm gonna hit X, and notice my colors over here switch when I hit X. So I'll go to white, and I'm just gonna paint a little bit of white down here and make the brush smaller. So white is dodging it, and I'm making this area lighter. Now the shadow side of her face also got a little bit extra dark, so I'm going to dodge that just a little bit too. All right, and I think that's much better. So that's before and after. Look how it brings the focus straight to her face and not to that dark corner. What a big difference. I like that a lot. So that was super easy. Then the last thing I'm going to do before I send this off to her is flatten. So F10 is flatten. Shift F10 and F10 are both two of the most used actions in my set. I'm going to hit F10, and there we go. It's flat and ready to go. So if you have these actions, you can see how speedy it is, but let's go through them one thing at a time, and I want to teach you how all that is done. So I'm going to go to my history, and I'm going to scroll up to the top, back to the original picture, and we'll do it step by step. First thing is to convert to a black and white. And I have the action programmed, but to do this, you're going to go Image, Mode, and go to Lab Color. So with Lab Color, nothing changed, except the channels are different. So when you click over to the Channels tab, you can see it's lightness A and B, and that's why it's called Lab Mode, L-A-B. So all I need to do is click on A and B, right click, and delete the channels. That leaves just the lightness panel. So A and B are the color channels. So there you go. That's beautiful. I love it. And it just gives a beautiful look to skin tones. I just really love the lab color method. Then that's pretty much ready to go. Now sometimes it needs a little bit of contrast. It's actually beautiful as is, but I wanted something a little punchier. And to do that, I added, go back to the layers panel, I went to, oh, I forgot. You can't add adjustment layers while it's in lab mode. So the last part of converting to black and white with the lab method is you have to go back to image mode and put it back into grayscale instead of leaving it in the lab mode. I forgot that because I use my action all the time. I don't even have to think about it. I just, boom, hit F4. Anyway, so now that it's back to grayscale mode, now I can add my adjustment layer of curves. And I like curves a lot because it's got the black point and the white point set, and I can just modify the tones in between. And there we go. I just increased my contrast. Now notice it is an adjustment layer, so it's additive. It's on the top, and I can mask some of it away if I want. Like, yeah, maybe it's a little bit too contrasty on her shirt. I can go to my brush and choose a black brush and take away the contrast that was added on her sweater. And I like that better, actually. All right, so we're getting even better. Next, we're going to add the Dodge and Burn. So that's an action as well, and here are the steps. First step, add a blank layer. Not a duplicate layer, but a blank layer. And then you're going to put it in the blend mode of soft light. Now, you can't see anything happen because there's nothing on it. Then you're going to go pick your brush tool and go to your general brushes and choose a soft brush. This one in the set is good. It's normally 300 pixels, but I'll make it bigger. And the hardness is 0. That means it's very soft. Coming over to my image, if I'm going to burn, I'm going to go with black. I'm going to hit X to exchange these. So black, but I want my brush bigger, like that, big and soft. Now, do I want to paint 100%? No, not at all. That's way too much. So my brush opacity is usually 15%. You want to just build it up softly. So I'm painting 15% black to burn, and we'll just burn all this down. There we go. Now to dodge, I hit X, so I go to white. And white is also at 15%. And I'm just going to dodge this area over here and maybe dodge the shadow side of her face just a little bit. All right, so X over to burn, and I'm going to darken the eye back again. There we go. So this is before and after. Now that improved a lot. Your eyes go right to her eyes and away from that dark corner, which is definitely an improvement. I think I'm going to darken this down here just a little bit more. Now you can build it up darker, 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 darker. Each time you swipe, it gets darker, and that makes it even more so. I love it. There we go. Yeah, I like that. Now her face really stands out. It looks a lot better. Now, let me show you what that layer actually looks like. If I take it out of soft light and I just put it in normal, that's what it is. It's just a bunch of mushiness. You can see where I really burned down her sweater, her face, hardly anything, and lightened up this area. Let's see. Then if I put it in overlay, that's even more dramatic. Soft light's better. Hard light is horrible. So soft light is the one that I usually use. That looks marvelous. Okay, so that is how I improved this beautiful portrait of Dixie, but you can see how much faster it is by using those actions. There you go, your little Photoshop lesson for the day. One thing I do want to remind you is that all my actions are total setups. That means they set you up with the correct tool. So when it comes to dodge and burn, I had to pick a brush and pick the softness and change the opacity and all that, right? Well, if you have the action, you don't have to do that because I have a dodge and burn layer brush preset. So if I just take my image back to its original state, or let's just take it back to a black and white, and I play dodge and burn, which is Shift F10, notice it just tells me what to do. It automatically makes the layer, puts it in soft light, grabs that brush, sets it as black, and all you have to do is just start painting. So it's super fast because it is a setup. It sets everything up for you and then tells you what to do. So that is a big benefit. The same thing with the lab color. When you switch over to black and white, it automatically does that. And all my actions set you up with the right tool, the right opacity, and make it as fast as possible for maximum efficiency.